Good morning, everyone. Aloha. Thank you all for being here. I so appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just gonna get started with my story. It's long story short. I was hiking one day and I felt extremely fatigued. At this point, I'm the healthiest person I know. Everyone's like, "Oh, wow, what are you doing?" Oh, and all of a sudden, I'm just like, I can't make it up the mountain. My brother's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, and I'm usually like running up the mountain, like, "Hey, you guys coming?" And I was just sluggish. And I felt this pain in my toe, and I was like, "What is this?" Okay, it's a little weird. And then all of a sudden, I go home. Within 10 hours, I went from like, oh, there's a little pain in my toe to excruciating pain all the way up my leg, all the way up my hips. Like, truly thought my foot was broken, didn't know what to do. I'm like asking the internet, like, what do I do? People are like, go to the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I go to the hospital, I go to the ER, and the doctors do all kinds of tests. They test me for gout. They do x-rays. They every test they could possibly think of. And they just look at me and they go, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm like, excuse me? Like, my foot is a balloon at this point, completely inflamed, not a wrinkle on my foot. Like, I got two different feet for all intents and purposes. I got my foot and an elephant foot, and the doctors don't know what's wrong. And it's not like, I'm like, I'm not making this up. This isn't in my head. I don't have phantom pain. Like, my foot is a literal balloon, and the pain is all the way up to my hips. They gave me painkillers, that was fine, but it wasn't great. And then I went home. The best they could do, they were like, "Oh, we'll give you a prescription for arthritis meds." I'm 33 at the time. I'm like, I'm 33. What? I don't have arthritis. That's crazy. So then I just kind of ignore it because at this point I've already had a distrust for the medical industry, and I was just, okay, now I know that they really don't know what they're doing. There's a reason they call it a practice. And so I then, a few weeks later, I get a pain in my wrist. Now my wrist is same thing, goes from like, oh, that kind of hurts to elevated pain within a few hours. My wrist and my hands start to inflame, completely just ballooned out. The pain goes all the way up to my chest. I'm having a panic attack because I can't breathe. I'm just like overwhelmed. Um, Oh yeah, back up a bit. When I was at the hospital, when they gave me painkillers, I felt my heart start to stop. And luckily I had the wherewithal to tell the nurse and she stopped, but it was like my vision went black. Like it was a whole terrifying scene. So when it happened to my wrist and I was like feeling the overwhelming again in my chest, I was like, well, I don't want to go back to the ER or the doctor for them to like almost kill me again and give me no answers. So I started trying to figure it out. So I'm researching online. Everything that I was coming up against was autoimmune this, autoimmune that, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, you name it. And I was just like celiac, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I just deep in my soul do not believe that my body is attacking itself. It's just not something that happens. So what do I do? Right. And this point, it's months of this, laying in bed, barely being able to do anything, be able to walk, be able to like, I couldn't even open a jar. Like it was really like I'm hobbling to the bathroom. Luckily, there was like a railing, but I had flights of stairs that I had to go to every time just to get to the bathroom. And then one night at like 3 in the morning, I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm like praying to God, like, what do I do? And I just put out a cry on Facebook. I wrote down everything that was happening, what I was experiencing, and I got, an outpour of love and support. And 99% of it was, is it autoimmune? It might be this, it might be fibromyalgia, it might be they just every autoimmune. And even though in my post, I was like, shared my experience with my research, they, I was just like, that's not what's happening. So then I still go to multiple doctors. I go to a chiropractor, acupuncturist, functional medicine, alternative doctors. Nobody can figure it out. Everyone's like, how are your hormones? Let's do blood tests. Let's do, what was the other one? It was just endless roads to no answers. Oh, they're like, are you eating enough protein? It was just like, I was like, because I don't eat a lot of meat. And and I think at the time I wasn't really eating any. And there was a friend that I barely knew who was actually friends with my brother Adam in high school, but we were friends on Facebook. She emailed me or messaged me directly and she was like, "Hey, can I send you some books?" Meanwhile, I'm deep in the spiritual world, so I have people sending me like, "Oh, here, do this meditation, do this." And I'm just like, bro, I can't chant my way out of this. Like my physical body is in excruciating pain and I need actual answers. And so when she sent me, you know, she was like, "Can I send you some books?" I was like, "Sure. I got nothing but time right now, so I'll read some books." And so I sent her my address. The next day I get The Medical Medium, Anthony William. And when I read the back of this book, I was like, "Oh, this is the answer. This is what I've been looking for." I read that book in a day and immediately changed my diet. And like within 2 weeks, my inflammation and pain went down after I applied what he was teaching. Within a month, the pain was like 90% down. And then it was a couple years of just me, like after those 2 weeks, I was like, this is it. I am full force going for this because after getting no answers and now having immediate relief, like what do I have to lose, right? And I just felt the resonance of what he was teaching. It like really resonated with me. And it made sense to me because I always felt deep in my soul that food was medicine, right? And so I am here to not actually teach you about the medical medium information because you can dive into that on your own because there's plenty of that. There's actually so much of it that it can be a bit overwhelming. And so I remember feeling like, man, I wish I had somebody to like hold my hand through this information and tell me how to do it. And I was like, I guess I got to be that for myself. So I want to share a bunch of tips and tricks that I learned as far as just how to kind of navigate through going from one lifestyle when it comes to food to a new lifestyle, knowing that, there's a part of us, a part of you that wants to change. And I'm telling you right now that you can. And when I got deep in it, what I started to notice is that even though I went in for, okay, I'm healing X, Y, and Z, these symptoms and these feelings, once I got into it, I started to feel better in A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, right? That I had been experienced. I didn't know how sick I had been for the last 10 years. I had severe period pains that I just thought like, oh, this is what happens when you get older. You just have excruciating pain all the way down your legs when you get your period. Like I'm asking people, I'm like, is this normal? Is this life now? Because I hate this. That went away. And it wasn't even like I was not even trying to get rid of that. I just remember one day my cycle came and I was like, and it surprised me because I didn't have all these symptoms that went with it. I was like, wait a minute. Not only am I healing, the thing that caused my wrist and my foot, I'm also healing all this other stuff. So, and and at the end, if you want to know more about the quick, because there's a short bit of information that is, in my opinion, the bulk of what is most powerful in the medical medium. And we can get into that to end if you guys have more questions. For now, I'm gonna get to my slides so I can show you. Here we go. Can you all see this? We're good? Okay. All right. Oh. No.
Hey Vanessa, do you want your face to show on the corner of the screen?
Whatever, what do you think? Do you guys prefer? I don't know how to.
Well, for the web, it might be good because it'll be archived. Just a thought. If you
Okay.
want
I don't know
to
how to
have your
do
face,
that.
I
Where do I
think
do that?
I Ken. Do you know how to tell her to? I think there's a
Her
share.
her face is at the top of my stack, and it's recording from my machine, so she will be speaking on
So
the screen of the
you all see
recording.
me?
So we're okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. So when I'm in my screen, I can't see y'all. So, but can you still see? Yeah. Anyway, all right. So one of the things that I highly recommend is add before you subtract. So it can be really overwhelming to all of a sudden, like if you're like, okay, especially with the medical medium, there's a list of foods that he recommends you remove from your diet, which are eggs, dairy, gluten, corn, and soy. There's more to it if you want to go deeper, but those are the main foods. It can be a little overwhelming to be like, oh my God, if I'm used to, I ate eggs every day of my life when I started cooking when I was 8. It was like 8 to 33. It was like eggs every day. I'm getting my protein, right? And turns out they feed pathogens and viruses. So I was like, I have to eliminate these. And that was like a no-brainer. Okay, we got to get rid of that. But the hard thing for me was because I was so used to eating eggs, I was like, okay, I'm not going to totally remove soy just yet because it's going to be easier for me to maintain this new diet if I can kind of emulate eggs, right? So I would make a tofu scramble with veggies. Like normally I would do, eggs and potatoes and a veggie. So instead, now I'm doing a tofu scramble and veggies and potatoes. And after a couple weeks, I was like, you know what? I don't actually need the tofu anymore. So I got rid of it. So I was adding in, then I realized I was like, okay, if I just add in more of what I need and then I won't miss the other stuff, right? So for me, I was in such a state of like ready to shift radically that it was much easier for me to just remove everything because I was in so much physical pain and such in a seek of change. But now that it's been 7 years and I've literally earned my right to eat anything, I went from being able to eat nothing and feel like everything I ate hurt my body to now I can eat anything and I don't have any reaction to it. Like I'm like, okay, if I want to have a burger with cheese and a bun, I don't have a reaction to it. But it's not something that I'm going to eat every day because I know that at the end of the day, like I'm better off eating all the fruits and vegetables and clean grains and stuff that I healed myself with for 5 years. And so now that I'm back at like, okay, maybe I should get back to the way that I was and not eat, this other thing. It's like I realize, oh, if I just add something good to my diet every day, then I'll be better. Like I remember even 10 years ago, I was like, I'm not eating that many vegetables. So I'm gonna add it to breakfast so that I know
Okay,
I've got it
bye.
right out the bed, right? I don't have to worry about it. I got my serving, right? And so I started to love having Brussels sprouts at breakfast. And then I started to love when the maple syrup ran into my Brussels sprouts. And I learned like, ooh, maple syrup and Brussels sprouts are really good. Ooh, and I put a little red pepper chili flakes on it. And I was like, ooh, a little spice, a little sweet. And it's so good. Highly recommended. So if we basically out crowd the unhealthy habits by introducing the healthy foods. And I can tell you right now, pretty much every fruit and vegetable is good for you. Don't buy into the, cruciferous vegetables are bad or the lectins, none of that. Like eat your tomatoes, eat your broccoli. They love you, I promise. And it's just the corn and the soy that have been highly GMO that they have different problems and they feed inflammation and all that stuff. So those are the only ones that I recommend avoiding. And like I said, the medical medium can go deep into that. So just make it easy on yourself if you're like, okay, yeah, I want to add more healthy stuff. The medical medium does have a lot of information. I mean, one of his books is called Life-Changing Foods, and it's literally just a coffee table book of beautiful foods and some recipes and why they're good for you, even like the spiritual nature of the food. For example, like bananas, they make you more outgoing. You can actually live off of bananas alone for 2 years because it has everything that you need to live off of it. I did it for a week, and it's actually really good to rebuild your digestive tract if you're dealing with, anything from any of the myriad ways that we kind of disrupt our digestion, whether it's from being in the hospital and having hospital food or just having, being innocently human and just eating what we thought was good that turned out wasn't that good. And, and the great thing about bananas is they're everywhere, right? So if you can just be like, okay, add more bananas into your diet. And, something that I sometimes struggle with is not eating enough. And so bananas are a great thing because it's like, okay, quick, like, oh, blood sugar, okay, like immediate fuel. And they're literally, they're so good for you. And they're very appealing. And then let's see. So this is one of my favorite tips is just set the intention. So my favorite intention is I crave the foods that are beneficial to my body. So when you go shopping, you get to feel into it. And so okay, I'm going shopping. I'm looking at the stuff and I'm like, okay, I only crave what's beneficial to my body. Because especially, I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes I go grocery shopping and I'm like, like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, ooh, shiny package. Ooh, this, what's that? Okay. Ooh, right. And I'm like, oh, this looks great. And then I read the ingredients and I'm like, canola oil. What are you doing to me? And so just setting that intention. And then when you set that intention, then you sit with it. So the story that I have for that is that I love chocolate. So there was this chocolate bar that I used to always buy, and I was like, okay. So I hold the chocolate bar, and and we'll do this practice later, but I just want to tell you about it. So I held the bar, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna imagine eating it because I believe that when you imagine something, the way that you feel when you anticipate something is a preview to how you're gonna feel when you participate in something. So I'm holding the chocolate bar, and I imagine how I'm feeling. Still,
Yep, gotcha.
okay, perfect. Okay. Okay,
Gotcha.
perfect.
All good.
All right. So I don't know where I got chopped off, but basically, so then even though I passed on the chocolate bar, I did go back later and I got that chocolate bar and I definitely got a stomach ache. So and now I've learned that I can enjoy chocolate in little bites. Just don't eat the whole bar at once. So we don't have to completely deprive of ourselves of, the things that we enjoy. It's just moderation, right? And if you are at the place like where I was, where it's just like full body excruciating pain, and you're like, oh my God, it's like, and if you're at that place where you're like, yeah, cool, we're gonna knock it all off. But it's about longevity, right? It's about sustaining the habits. So I definitely recommend that process. There we go. Okay, so it's like it's okay to be human, right? Because healing is non-linear. You go back and forth. So just be gentle with yourself and awareness over perfection because everything is information, right? So if you go to the store and you're like, oh, this feels good, but then later you're like, oh, actually, this doesn't feel good when I eat it. That's just awareness. We don't have to put ourselves down. We don't have to, it's not like, oh, I messed up. I might as well never do this. And we don't have to, we'll just keep doing what I'm doing before because I can't. No, you can do it. It's the simple metaphor as learning to walk. I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, fell on my butt. I'm never going to walk. Can't do it. It's crazy, right? You just get up and maybe you fall on your butt again. Maybe you hold the railing, maybe you hold the coffee table, but eventually you get better at it. And the next thing you know, you're running. So the next thing you know, you're going to be in the produce section. You're going to be like, oh, I know what to eat. I know what to eat. And the other thing I definitely recommend is read your food labels. Read the food labels. If you can't pronounce it or don't know what it is, probably shouldn't be eating it. And if it is something that you're like, I have a feeling that that's just, like ascorbic acid. It's just vitamin C. Citric acid, whole other story. I would avoid that like the plague. But just be gentle with yourself. It's okay. Like we don't have to get it right the first time. We're gonna ebb and flow through it. And it's just about getting to something that feels good for you, getting in your own rhythm, not getting down, because you got to be your own cheerleader, right? You'll be like, we got this, we got this, we got this. At the end of the day, you got to live with yourself. So be nice to yourself. We love you. And then fruit first. So in Ayurvedic teaching, they actually recommend eating fruit first because fruit is so highly digestible that it actually moves through the digestive system so fast that they don't recommend eating it after meals. I know it's a super popular alternative to dessert, which I get, but when we eat fruit after a meal, it's basically like this high-speed train that's trying to get through after your big heavy meal, but it can't get through. So guess what it does? It ferments, and then you get gassing and bloating and rotting in your stomach, and and then that doesn't feel good while it's there. It doesn't feel good coming out. So I definitely recommend eating fruit first, so you can eat it in the morning. It's a great way to like gently boost your digestion. It's so that all fruit is the sugar with fruit is attached to bioavailable nutrients. So it just immediately gets simulated in your body. It doesn't have to be broken down to be used. It's immediate fuel. It lightens you up, right? And for me, I like to eat it before meals because sometimes I don't know necessarily what I want to eat, or I've been working for several hours and I'm not in the mode of eating. So I don't really know. I don't feel hungry, but in my mind, I'm like, well, it's been 5 hours. I definitely need to eat. So, I grab a pear or an apple or a fruit or a bowl of berries. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I actually am really hungry. And so then it gets going. And because it goes down so fast, it's not going to interrupt your meal. It's not like, I don't hear my grandmother like, you're going to ruin your dinner. It's like you're actually going to help your dinner at that point. And then the sugar myth, right? So not all sugar is equal. And it's interesting because the medical medium isn't actually even against regular sugar. Like it's not on the list of no foods. It's not necessarily bad for you. But yeah, regular sugar for me, it does feel like a drug, right? It's like, right? And then like crash, right? So I avoid table sugar personally as best I can, but I don't totally. Like sometimes when I make a gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free cookie, and I use the raw sugar because it's easy. I've tried it with the coconut sugar and it works. It's a different flavor, but it's not the worst thing. But I definitely recommend leaning on the fruit sugars. And there is a chapter in his book called Fruit Fear. So if you have any fear around the sugar and fruit, I definitely recommend reading that because, again, he'll go into basically the fact that it is combined with bioavailable vitamin nutrients. So versus taking a supplement. So I healed myself with food. And yeah, there were a few supplements here and there, but for the most part, I just healed myself with food. I wasn't taking all these pills every day. I'm not like, oh, I need this, I need that. I pretty much did zinc. That was the only thing I did because I know that because of the way that farming is, a lot of the zinc and a lot of the nutrients have been depleted from my soil. So zinc is one of the things that or most people are deficient in. So that really felt resonant with me. So I did that. But I got most of my vitamins and nutrients from fruit and vegetables. And so because it's attached to the fruit and the sugar, it's like your body immediately knows what to do with it. With supplements, do we really know how much of our body is absorbing it? Like most of that stuff gets just like flushed out of us and doesn't actually absorb. When you eat it within the food, your body's like, yes, because it's Mother Nature, right? She knows, she knows how to do it. And so you can eat dates, honey, maple syrup, and fruit till your heart's desires. You literally could not eat enough fruit to have too much sugar. You could eat fruit all day long and never have too much sugar. Like the fruit sugar is always good for you, and you literally could never possibly eat too much of it. And what was I going to say about that? You also can't live off. So you can't live without fruit, but you can't live on just fruit. So like fruitarian, while it seems romantic in some ways for some people, you actually need all the other things, except for the bananas. You can do that for a couple of years, apparently. And, but I haven't done it for a couple of years. That's why I say apparently. I've done it for a week and it was amazing. But you definitely need all the other grounding, filling, carbs and nutrients and stuff that other foods bring you. But fruit is anti-cancerous. It boosts your immune system. It has electrolytes in it. It does so much for our body that generally people who come into places and are really sick is because they're not getting enough fruit. So if the one thing that you want to add when you're in the beginning of like, okay, I'm just going to add some things, just add fruit, add so much fruit to your diet and do it before meals in the morning. It's even if you're into fasting. I personally believe that fruit is basically a fast. It's still fasting because your body doesn't actually have to work very hard to digest it. It just immediately goes through you and it's just magical in that way. And so, and then yeah, clean carbs. So like potatoes, veggies have carb, but trying to think, I don't really eat non-clean carbs. So I'm trying to, I don't know what an example of that is. We're gonna move on. Oh, ah. Okay. So one of the, if you, a lot of times gluten is feeding pathogens and viruses that lead to migraines, arthritis, fibromyalgia, all these symptoms that we have. Most things, if you're dealing with some kind of health issue, it's likely that gluten is feeding the root issue. And so I actually went gluten-free, I don't know, 20 years ago or something, because I was having severe migraines. Like, and I didn't understand what it was. And I remember going to a chiropractor who did muscle testing, and she muscle tested me and she was like, yeah, your body's not reacting well to gluten. So leave it out and see what happens. So I left it out and it would be fine. And then, there'd be a croissant and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to eat that. Within 20 minutes, I was laid out, excruciating pain, just poof, couldn't do anything. And then, a day and a half later, I'd come out of this hole and be like, okay, maybe that wasn't worth it. Maybe that really is what's happening. Like right? So I had this moment of being human, of like, okay, I know I'm learning. I'm just taking in information. Okay. Was a little skeptical, didn't want to believe it because I didn't want to give up my croissants, but this is really happening. And then there were times later that I was like, you know what? I really want that croissant and it's going to be worth it. I don't care. I ate the croissant. Wasn't worth it. So much pain. Definitely not worth it. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. And because it was 20 years ago, there was definitely not as many gluten-free options as there are today. And even today, a lot of the gluten-free options are really over processed. There are some that are a little better. Like I like the brand Simple Mills. They do some good like crackers and stuff. But generally, what I recommend is actually just replacing it with things that are naturally gluten-free. Because I remember being like, oh, I need gluten-free bread and I need this, but it was nowhere to be found 20 years ago. And so I was like, wait a minute. Potatoes, quinoa, rice, like they're all naturally gluten-free. And potatoes are my favorite food. So I eat potatoes nearly every day. They are one of the top healing foods. They have L-lysine, they have like good carbs. There's so many things in potatoes that the medical medium will talk your ear off and you can read about, and they're super great. So I definitely recommend just adding in foods that are naturally gluten-free because having those, I find potatoes so grounding too, especially when we're in this transition of, okay, I'm going to try to eat more fruits and vegetables. And, I've never done the full raw thing because it feels too airy for me, right? Like I need grounding. So I do raw most of the day, right? I wake up, I have my lemon water, celery juice, and then I have fruit, whether it be a smoothie or a fruit bowl, and then lunch, big salad. And then dinner comes along and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for something warm and filling, like grounding. And so I'll have roasted potatoes with carrots and some chimichurri, which is just chopped up parsley, a little onion, lemon, olive oil. And I can send you to my site that will have recipes and continuing to add recipes to them. And so, and, and then here's some mantras that I'm just repeating in my head through my whole process, right? The slow and steady wins the race was my mantra for 5 years. Because it's like, okay, we're just going to keep going, right? We're going to keep going, ever what's happening. You know what? Okay, just slow and steady. What are we doing today? Right? And progress over perfection. Like you don't have to be perfect. We're just human, right? It's okay if you eat that croissant. It's okay if you eat that chocolate bar, whatever it is for you. Just notice how you feel. Just pay attention. And not just pay attention to how you feel immediately, right? Because immediately we might get that dopamine hit. We're satisfied. We got what we want. And then our stomach hurts. Or maybe even a day later, we're like, because it takes a minute for it to go through us. And so then a day later, you're like, oh, I have cramping. And oh, maybe it was this. Or, and see how it's affecting how your body processes food. And some things might stop things up and that's not great, right? So just paying attention to how it affects your body long term. And then, yeah, just be curious about food. And for today only, that is part of the Reiki precepts for today only, right? We just today, right now, what's right in front of me, right? We're not worried about tomorrow. We're not worried about yesterday because we only have today, right? Tomorrow is wait, what is it? Tomorrow is today is the tomorrow we worried about yesterday. So just stay present and be in the now, see how you're feeling and celebrate your wins, right? If you're like, wow, I ate fruit today. I ate more fruit than I ate yesterday or any day of my life, and I'm going to pat myself on the back. And that's amazing. Those little wins, right? And just progress, progress, progress. And so, like I said, I definitely recommend reading food labels, all the labels. Even like I even read the labels of food that have been buying my whole life because you know what happens? They get bought by companies, they change their recipes, and all of a sudden they got this other thing in there that I'm like, I don't eat that, right? I don't eat citric acid, I don't eat canola oil. And there's, for example, there's a can of tomatoes that I used to always buy because they were clean. It was just tomatoes. And then all of a sudden they started putting citric acid in it. And I was like, oh, why you gotta do me dirty there? And so I I was like, okay, so I find another brand that doesn't do it, right? And so we just keep evolving. There was a coconut water that I loved, and then they started adding sugar to it. I'm like, why you gotta do that? Like coconut water is perfect. You ruined it, and it tastes weird. It doesn't even taste good. Like there was like the Cocoa Nirvana did that, and then like the what's the other one? There was another one that did it, but if you want a good one, I recommend Cocoa Bear. Um, so before we go into the process, I want you to just think for yourself, and anybody who wants to share can share, but like, what's one nourishing food that you can eat today? What is a fruit or a vegetable or something that at one point in your life you were like, yeah, I like that, but I haven't really eaten that. Okay, maybe I can incorporate that. And so I'll give you just a minute to think about that and what that might be. Maybe it's an orange, cucumbers, maybe just you're adding tomatoes to your salad, or maybe you're having a salad for the first time. Maybe you're adding veggies to your breakfast, or even a second serving of veggies to your dinner. Does anybody have something that they're really excited about eating that they want to share?
I do.
Yeah,
I've
let's hear
been I've been falling in love with cabbage lately. Like it's my new superfood. Learning how I made cabbage pizza, okay? Like it
I
was the
love it.
coolest recipe, and I've just been using it for everything. It's got a lot of vitamin C. It's got a lot of all the things that I wasn't really getting, and I try to to stay away from all carbs anyway, but I have to find substitutes for carbs. So when I found out you can slice cabbage, just a wedge, like not the wedge, but just a slice of it and like layer it and then lay eggs over it, and that's your pizza crust. Oh man, game over.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's a cool idea. I love cabbage.
Yeah, I
Thank you for
slice it
sharing.
and fry it on, like in oil and oh, so good. So yeah.
Yum. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually just had a stir fry the other day, which is kind of it's like stone soup for me. Like I'm at the end of the week and I haven't gone shopping and I'm like, what's in my fridge? Okay, I got an onion, I got a carrot, I got a pepper, I got some cabbage. Just throw it all in the pan, saute it. And yeah, and what I love about cabbage is that it's good cooked and it's good raw. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'll even one of my favorite salads, so simple, literally like thinly sliced cabbage, lemon, olive oil, and maybe even maple syrup and honey. And it's like just the little salt, and it's the best little fresh salad. You can even shave some carrot in there. You can add avocado, whatever you want. But the cabbage is so fun, and it comes in different colors.
Yeah, and it lasts for so long. You can store it. We were talking about when we go on our boating trips, we can take a bunch of cabbage and just store it in the cooler. It'll last a while. It's great.
Totally.
Yeah.
It is. And it's not expensive either. It's
Right,
like,
right. Yeah, it's a couple dollars and I'm like,
right.
oh my gosh.
Like
Yeah, I love
people
it.
are like, it's so expensive to be vegan. I'm like, yeah, well, you're buying like $10 vegan cheeses. Like, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Like, just eat what Mother Nature is giving us, right?
Hmm.
I
I
love
love
that.
this topic, by the way, and I'm so sad I missed the first part of it, but jumping in now. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, we're recording, so hopefully you can get that. Yes, Ken?
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying overnight oats with the
Mm.
following recipe. You take whatever the serving size of oats are, and you make that a quarter, and then I add an equal portion of hemp hearts, quinoa, chia seeds, local honey, walnuts and dried blueberries, and then a handful of dates and prunes, because dates and
Um,
prunes do not spike your insulin resistance. So it gives you all the goodies,
yeah.
but it doesn't spike your insulin response. And I'll tell you what, that's the best eaten ever. It
Yeah.
lasts all day.
I
Lasts
was
all
gonna
day.
say sustaining.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, blueberries, specifically wild blueberries, are one of the
Oh,
most healing things on the planet.
oh.
Truly, like
And
so
and
good
and
for you.
actually, dried blueberries are even better than fresh because it's the goodies stay, and it's
Yeah,
condensed roughage, and oh, then
totally.
it
Yeah,
lasts forever.
I love it. Yeah, for amazing. Mom.
Yeah, I wanted to add to the cabbage. We've been doing what are they call cabbage steaks. So you slice it, I guess about a half inch or three fourths, and then we found a recipe where you marinate it. So we put like coconut aminos and some olive oil and lemon, and just let it sit for half an hour, and then saute it like a steak. And it's so good, and it's also great for digestion. As we get older, maybe things get sluggish, so that's our go-to for for
Yeah,
keeping things moving.
that sounds really good. I gotta try that too. Amazing. Anybody else want to share?
I'll
Okay.
share, Vanessa.
Yeah,
Um, I've also had to eliminate a lot of foods from my life because I was having a lot of health problems, and um, you've inspired me to maybe try cutting out eggs and dairy because I do get a lot of headaches. And so I always think like if I'm feeling great, I'm gonna leave things as they are, but I'm not feeling great. So thank you for sharing this. And maybe I do need to eliminate some stuff and maybe add some fruit in the morning. So thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, eggs it's an interesting thing because one of the things I talked about, right, was seeing how it makes you feel. The funny thing about eggs is they actually settle really well. If you're dealing with a lot of health issues, and in most health issues, right, start in the gut, and eggs will settle weirdly and we won't notice it. But then if we're not used to eating salads and vegetables like that, we can feel that because if our digestive tract is kind of raw, right? So like literally feel it going through where the eggs settle, but the eggs settle and they also feed all pathogens and viruses that lead to the root cause of inflammation and all these other things. So
Can
I
you share
definitely,
why that's true? Why eggs do that?
so basically all of the pathogens and viruses that we wreak havoc on our society were created in labs. And when they were created in labs, the gain in function, they were fed chicken eggs. And it became their mother's milk. So you could literally have your own chicken. They get in the organic feed. You could be massaging them, talking to them, loving on them. Their eggs are still going to feed whatever in your body. And so, like, if you can get quail eggs or duck eggs or turkey eggs, those won't. But chicken eggs, no matter where you get them, feed pathogens and viruses in the body. So if you're feeling anything but amazing in your body, I definitely recommend at least reading about what the medical medium says about eggs and feel into the information that he's putting out there. And honestly, it took me a few weeks. Like the first time I read it, I was like, okay, that's enough. I'll take it out. But then a couple weeks later, I was like, wait, why am I not eating eggs? And so I would like listen to the podcast or read it again and get reminded. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I'm still not gonna do that, right? And that was one of the other tips I wanted to share is just empower yourself with the information. Sometimes for me, like, okay, so I have a friend and he's like, oh, I hate cucumbers. And I was like, oh my God, how can you hate cucumbers? They're so good. I was like, well, for me, if I know how good they are for me, all of a sudden it changes how I feel about them. I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad, right? So I said to him, I was like, okay, well, if I send you some information about why cucumbers are good for you, would you be interested? And he was like, yeah. So I sent him a little blurb about cucumbers. Now he loves cucumbers and he's eating them all the time. Same with mushrooms. Like there's so many different things that, we, for whatever reason, we have these connections from our childhood. Like I hated mushrooms growing up. I was like, oh, they're so gross. Now I love them. And because one of the things that I learned from the medical medium is that even though it seems counter, mushrooms actually fight mold in the body. So I was dealing with mold toxicity from exposure to mold and when we lived in an old farmhouse when I was like 10. And one of the symptoms of mold toxicity is chemical sensitivity. So it's like I couldn't even barely like I couldn't even go past the aisle in the grocery store that had all the soaps and detergents and stuff because just the smell just like triggered me, like literally. And when I read that mushrooms get rid of mold in the body, I was like, okay, I want to eat more mushrooms. And so I started adding them to my salad and I would get cremini mushrooms and I would cut them really thin. And I was like, oh, when you cut them really thin, like I was like, they're actually kind of good. They're like little chips, right? They're not the umami flavor is a little more subtle. And then I'm eating it with other stuff. So I have a recipe that I share on my YouTube channel that's called it's called vegan poke. And I literally one day just made this salad with what was in my fridge and I put it together and I took a bite and I was like, this tastes like poke. And I looked at it, I was like, it looks like poke. I didn't even mean to do that. And it's like what is it? Spinach, thinly sliced cucumbers, thinly sliced creminis, orange slice that ended up looking like the fish and a little black sesame. But yeah, I'll share the link with you. But yeah, just learning about the healing properties of food. And I definitely recommend the medical medium. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I've spent my whole life just like diving into food and all these things. And there's so much conflicting information, right? And so it can be really confusing. And for me, and I invite you to tune in with yourself as well when you read his information. Just tune into your own discernment, tune into your own resonance. Like, does this resonate with me? How does it feel? And read his story, right? Because anybody that I've seen that basically threatens the medical industry is going to have some backlash. So you can't believe everything you hear, right? There's definitely stuff that they're not for him, right? But I've also watched when I found the medical medium, he had about 250,000 followers on Instagram. Now I think he has like 8 million. And he's not going anywhere. And his story is incredible. And especially if you have a deep spiritual connection to yourself and the world or whatever, and you have that part of you, like I think you'll resonate with his story because it's quite beautiful and makes me cry when I read it to people because it's so moving. Um, but yeah, let's see. Anybody have any questions before I move on or anyone else?
Tom has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see it. Yes, Tom.
Thank you, Vanessa. First of
Can
all,
you
I want to,
unmute you? Because I think your sound's just
Well,
coming through my mic.
oh, he's going through my microphone, but he
Oh,
won't show up, I
can you
guess.
hear me?
I mean, I can hear you. Okay, so if that's how it works, that's great.
All right, so first of all, I want to thank Vanessa because she introduced me to the medical medium. And I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when I was 59 years old. And I was insulin dependent. I went off to metformin. I actually ended up being on insulin. And my blood sugar could run in the 200s easily and even up from there. So she introduced me to medical medium and said, start drinking fresh celery juice every morning. My blood sugar this morning was 96. I am completely off of insulin. I am completely off of metformin. The only thing I really changed was starting and drinking that celery juice every morning, and he recommends that as, and I know Vanessa, I'm speaking what I learned from her, but celery juice is an unbelievable thing that I never thought of using before. But it's pretty simple. Got a machine, Vanessa and Olivia were doing it, and a special machine that drains up the celery and takes out the juice and takes out all the pulp. But so my doctor, when I was there right before Christmas, said, I only want to see you now once a year. I was going to her every 3 months, every quarter to check my blood sugar. My blood pressure is way down. It's like runs in the, well, yesterday it was like 108. This morning it was like 138. So it's for a guy that's 77 years old, it's pretty darn good. And so I'm a big fan of medical medium. I have his book next to bed. I refer to it all the time. And I made a list of things in the grocery store like she's done that I just need to not eat them anymore. So that's my testimonial. Thank
Yay.
you, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Like, how incredible is that? Like, we're blowing doctors away because they're like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I'm drinking celery juice every morning. And I didn't even mention that in this talk. So thank you for bringing it up because that literally is one of the most magical elixirs. If you could change one thing in your diet and you could just add celery juice to your diet every day, it would dramatically change your life because it not only rebuilds your hydrochloric acid, it rebuilds your digestive system, it kills pathogens and viruses like, on the spot. So, quick rundown of the medical medium. Just the bulk of, I think, the most important information is that, like I said, eggs, dairy, gluten, corn, and soy all feed pathogens and viruses. So, if we eliminate all those, we're starving them within our body, right? And 80% of the world has Epstein-Barr, and that is one that affects us all in some ways, right? And we can get it in utero, we can get it from kissing somebody when we're young, and they're just like, "Oh, you have mono," right? But that same virus can elevate to 4 different stages. It's actually the root cause of breast cancer. It's the root cause of many things. There's over 80 different varieties. And if we can keep it tame, it actually is like, it's not a big deal. But if we let it get overrun and we feed it with all these things, it can get really bad. And so the celery juice will go in and will kill it. It breaks down the viral walls. It gets rid of the viral debris. It does all these things. It has sodium cluster salts in celery juice as well, which these salts are basically like super electrolytes, right? It can go into your muscles and get toxins that have been stored in your body. The beautiful thing about celery juice is it's like divine intelligence. Like it knows what to do in your body for you, in your specific thing. And it's so interesting because people that I've coached through this, it's like it really almost doesn't matter what you're dealing with. The answer is pretty much the same. Cut out these things, do celery juice, and eat a ton more fruits and vegetables, and your body knows what to do with it all. And so, in a way, it's actually really simple. Like, you don't have to figure it out. You could be dealing with X, Y, and Z, and then somebody else is dealing with A, B, and C. But if you both do this some other thing, you're both going to have massive results. And then because he's got 5, 6 books out now, and there is little bits of information that you can get into, like in some cases, diabetes is actually a fatty liver thing. It's not a sugar issue. And the reason it looks like a sugar issue is because your liver is responsible for processing and storing glucose. And if your liver is overburdened with fat, it cannot process and store glucose. And what that looks like is a sugar spike in your body. And so actually, there's a case study that he talks about in his book where this girl was having health issues when she was really young, like 17, went to the doctor. So it basically put her on keto. They had her eating meat. They had her, 3 times a day, no carbs, nothing that turned to sugar, nothing that had sugar in it. And then she developed diabetes. And she's like, how do I get diabetes? I don't eat sugar. And then she found him. He told her what was happening. And then so she slowly changed her diet, started taking out the meat, adding more fruits and vegetables, and she ended up reversing her diabetes. And it's like, it doesn't make sense in the modern medical industry because they're telling us it's a sugar issue, but they're focusing too much on the symptoms and not the cause. And so all of that information is in the books. And so in the thing is too, it's also in his podcast on his social media. Like if you wanted all of this information is for free. He's not even gatekeeping it. And if you're like, oh, I do want to get the books, but I can't afford it right now, just go to the bookstore, flip through it. I actually have them all on my Kindle because they're basically encyclopedias. They're like reference books, right? So I'm like, go in. Sometimes people come to me, hey, I'm experiencing this. So then I just go online and I search diabetes medical medium and see what he says, right? And then send that to them. Be like, hey, what do you think of this? So, yeah, I could go on for days. I do want to share another story of a friend who at the time was around 80 and he was dealing with blood pressure issues. And, he is a farmer. He literally sells starter plants for food at the farmer's market. So he's, super healthy. I think he's got a lot of it figured out, doesn't eat processed foods, but is dealing with heart. I don't remember if his blood pressure was too high or too low, but his doctor wanted him to go on meds. And he was like, I don't want to go on meds. And I was like, he always called me celery girl because I would go spend time with him every week. And I was like, well, what about celery juice? And he's like, maybe. And I was like, well, if I give you a book, will you read it? And he was like, sure. And so I brought him the celery juice book because the medical medium has a book just on celery juice because it's that amazing. And I bring it to him. The next time I saw him, he's like, I was up till 3 in the morning reading that book. I could not put it down. This is amazing. And so he started doing it. And I definitely, so one thing that I want to just kind of hold your hand in is if you are dealing with a lot of health issues, the celery juice is so powerful that it can have detox effects that feel adverse, right? And be like, oh no, this is bad. But so, for example, he was so gung ho that he got the celery juice and he drank it really fast. And then his son called me and he's like, he feels dizzy. He's like, do we need to go to the hospital? And I was like, I mean, if you feel like you need to go to the hospital, do what you got to do. And maybe just ride it out and see what happens. And he just read it out. And then what I recommended and what the medical medium recommends. And if you feel into it, you can even muscle test it, use the pendulum. If you feel like you might be in that state, what he recommends is doing a little bit at a time. So just sip a few ounces in the morning and then a few later, and a few later, and that will be enough to kind of ease into it. So he did that for a few months, and then he worked up to the point where he could drink a whole 16 ounces without it being intense in any way. And he was like, "Oh, this feels great." And and then, he was a little competitive and I was drinking 32 ounces every day. So he was like, I'm gonna get up to you, right? And then he got up to that. I think it was like a year or a year and a half later, went to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, so the meds are working. He wasn't taking them. He's like, nope, I did celery juice. And so now like it completely regulated his blood pressure. And the beautiful thing is it actually didn't matter whether it was high or low because the celery juice works for both. And the what's it called? Tom mentioned we have this crazy machine. It seems like a crazy machine if you've never seen a juicer, but you can use any juicer. You can even use your blender. If you use a blender, you want it to be one of the, like a Blendtec or a Vitamix, like something that's able to really handle that much roughage. You don't want to add water and you want to strain out the pulp. Because even though roughage, right, it's all good for us, the fiber is great for us. The thing about celery juice is this fiber actually slows down the absorption of the magic of the celery juice. So for this case, we just want to remove it so that we really get to fully utilize the magic of the celery juice and allow the elixir to fully penetrate our being in all the places that it needs to go. One warning about celery juice is it can create urgency to go to the bathroom. And so if you're trying it, just stay near, don't like drink it and then go to work or go to the store or go out. Like you might want to just feel into it for a bit and stay home. And again, like I said, go read about it because he'll tell you all the things that could happen. You can even get onto forums, onto comment sections and ask. And people, the medical medium won't respond to you because he has so many people at his, knocking on his door, proverbially. But there are people in the comment section that are more than willing to help because it's helped so many people heal that everybody's just so excited to share this information. Does anybody have any questions about that? Paul?
Hi.
My mouse is not working.
Sorry.
Here's a off the wall question. In order to get 1 cup, 12 ounces, some ounces of celery juice, how many stalks do you need?
It's usually one bunch. So when you go to the store and you just buy one bunch usually is around 16 ounces. But if you're me, you find the biggest, plumpest ones, and I get about 28 ounces out of it. And yeah, so it's kind of one bunch. And yeah.
Because I tried it when you guys recommended it when you way long ago. I gave it a shot using my standard Osterizer blender, not the super duper 300 whatever it is. And I forgot how many stalks I used. I can't remember, maybe 4, 5, 6. I don't know, just from a bunch. And I got lots of roughage and no juice. Uh,
Mm.
and I don't know whether I set it at max or I don't know. So that's why I asked. Um, I think it depends on what you want to get is really um, and super juicy celery because sometimes at the store you have celery, but it's not. There's a great variation in how much juice there is in celery. You mentioned Aldi has
Yeah.
a good place to get stuff, and I think that's where I got it. So I need to investigate that. Anyhow, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's like it's like tomatoes. Do all tomatoes taste the same? No. Some tomatoes are mealy and gross, and then some you got heirloom tomatoes that are like freaking gifts from God, right? So not all celery juice is created equal. If it's really dark and stringy, it's gonna be bitter and it's not gonna produce as much juice. But if it's like lighter in color and super plump, it's gonna be juicier. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, one of the things I like about the Aldi celery, and I know Trader Joe's does it too, and I know that it's kind of like against a lot of ethos when it comes to being, you know, one with nature, but the individually plastic wrapped celery is kind of the way to go because celery actually kind of absorbs what's around it. So when it's just out in the bucket and out in the grocery store, I learned this lesson hard when there was this grocery store in Altadena and I always had a funny smell in the grocery store. And I got celery juice there because it was during the time when Kim Kardashian was connecting with the medical medium and she tried celery juice for like a week. And was like, it didn't work. I'm like, you got to do it for more than a week, homegirl. But like celery juice was like impossible to find in the grocery store during that time. And I'm glad because it woke a lot of people up to the information. But so I ended up going to the grocery store buying this celery. And when I juiced it, it tasted like the grocery store smelled. And I was like, oh God, I literally couldn't eat it. I threw it away because I was like, this is disgusting. So the individually wrapped stuff actually keeps it fresher in my experience. And I'm probably drinking 1,000 glasses of celery juice at this point, minimum. Um, but yeah, and if you're getting pulp and I'm not sure what kind of juicer device you're using, but if like for example, if you're doing it in the blender, you want to get like a cheesecloth or a nut bag. Nut bags are more stable. I find the cheesecloth starts to like come apart, but the nut bag, you want to put everything through the nut bag and then squeeze it out. So you're just getting juice and no pulp. And then yeah. Does that
I
help,
think
Paul?
I think Nazanin had a question.
I just
Did
want to make
you?
sure Paul is good before we move on.
Um, Green and leafy. You didn't mention green and leafy. That seems to be, Swiss chard, lettuce, kale. All of that is really great stuff.
Totally, right? So, my mom loved the green and leafy because, the chlorophyll, all these vitamins and nutrients. If you can stomach it, go for it, but it's too bitter for me. And I love celery juice because it's sweet and it's rejuvenating and it's a little salty. And when there's, because I've gotten it from the farmer's market and the leaves go in it, it just makes it a little bitter for me. And, you got to make it work for you. And it's about sustaining it. It's about long term, right? It's like, how long have we been living in this lifestyle that created these problems? You think we're going to just spend a day drinking celery juice and it's going to eradicate all that? Probably not, right? We got to create a new pattern for ourselves, a new lifestyle. And if eliminating the dark leafy greens in your celery juice is going to sustain your drinking celery juice every day, then take them out, right? And then just, have your salad with the spinach, kale, arugula, whatever draws to you. Because there's plenty of ways to get dark leafy greens that taste good. Because I think I can eat spinach like chips because they're so sweet and then full of nutrients, right? So you don't need it. And then on that note, if in the beginning celery juice is too bitter, too salty, and because it's new, right? You can add, what I did was I added a little lemon. You definitely want to drink it pure, fresh, and on an empty stomach. And immediately, like you make it, you drink it, it goes bad within 24 hours because it oxidizes and then it breaks down and you're not getting all the benefits. So we want to drink it. And so I would add lemon because it kind of made it taste a little better for me. But then And the medical medium recommends doing a little apple, like a little green apple with your juice to kind of sweeten it up. But that's just to transition you into eventually having it pure. So you do that for a week and then you wean yourself off of it. Maybe you do less apple and then eventually have no apple. And then you're at that point, you're a little more used to the celery juice and you can drink it every day. And consistency is key, but also, like I said, it's okay to be human. It's okay to, okay, oh, can't make it today, or oh, I couldn't get some today, or oh, I don't have time to make it, whatever it is. But as long as you're on the path, if you're like, okay, this is resonating with me, this is something I want to do, just do it when you can. And one other thing that I get a lot of people is like, oh, the juicer takes forever to clean. It was like, okay, I had that thought too. And so you know what I did? I timed myself. Do you know how long it took me to clean that juicer? 2 minutes. Do you know how much time I spend doom scrolling on the internet or staring off into nothing? More than 2 minutes. Like we can spend 2 minutes cleaning a juicer for our health, right? And then I time the whole process. The whole process takes me 15 minutes for one person, right? So do you have 15 minutes to for your body, for your health, for your longevity? Does anybody have any other questions?
I think Nazanin had a question before Paul, with around the same time.
Yeah.
Well, just I wonder whether you recommend anything for prolonged stress and brain fog.
Celery juice. I know it's right. So it's so funny. Like I said, it's like the answer is basically the same. So brain fog is, if I remember correctly, it is an Epstein bar, right? And I had brain fog too. And that was the thing too. I remember being like, that was why I kept having to listen to and kept having to read the information because I would forget it or I'd be in a fog when I was like, what, right? And so and a lot of times, like the toxins are actually what's causing stress in the body. The toxins are attached to our nervous system. They're reacting in a certain way, and our blood moves and it hits the toxin, and we're like, oh, right, and it's stress and it's all these things. So the celery juice actually it removes the toxins slowly over time. It's removing the toxins. It's killing because also the viral load, the viral debris that the viruses create is toxic, right? And the virus is eating heavy metals. The celery juice is removing heavy metals as well. And so when we do the celery juice, I also highly would recommend he has a recipe called the heavy metal detox smoothie. And you can just search that. If mom has a second, she can search it and put it in the chat. But it's basically bananas, wild blueberries, cilantro, dulse, spirulina, barley grass juice powder, orange juice. I like to add dates to make it a little sweeter. When I first heard of this recipe, I was like, who is drinking cilantro and seaweed in a smoothie? That sounds disgusting, right? And then so I finally was like, okay, I'm going to try this because I had a blood test and it was very obvious that I had heavy metals and they're a problem on many levels, right? And can cause stress and fatigue and all these things. So I did the heavy metal detox smoothie, and the first time I had it, I was like, this is delicious. Like, what was I afraid of? And then I drank it every day for months. And then I went and then had another blood test and significantly less metals in my blood and in my body. And so I definitely recommend the celery juice and the heavy metal detox smoothie for those things. Was that helpful?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions?
I might put a link to the omega juicer that we really like. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth every penny. You can, like, I mean, like I said, I've used mine over 1,000 times. I've had it more, I had it longer than I've been doing celery juice. And that thing is a power horse. Like it hasn't broken. I had a friend who had one and like one of their pieces broke and I realized it was because they were putting in the dishwasher. So it's definitely a hand wash thing, but they're really easy to clean. They're really easy to use. If it is too much of an investment for you right now, I definitely recommend looking on like Nextdoor or Facebook Marketplace because there's people who are like, I'm gonna juice, and then they buy the biggest, best juicer, and then they never do it, and then they sell it for like $100 or $50. And they often have sales, like sometimes they're only like $2.50, but literally worth every penny. Ken?
Yeah, I want to gently move us towards
Yeah,
convergence
well,
here, and I want to save about 10 minutes for people to prepare their gratitude and intention going forward. So we still have
okay.
about 20 minutes left, but I want to
Okay.
save 10 at the end.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So I wanted to do, I think maybe, wait, we have 20 minutes? Doesn't it go till 9:30 or does it go to 10?
Well, yeah, I want to save 5 minutes for our intention and gratitude, which leaves you 15 minutes.
Okay.
Does that give you
Um,
enough time?
yeah. Well, so one of the things I wanted to, let's see, is just we can just do this real quick with ourselves, like as a group individually, but I wanted to share about, just I want you to just think of a food that you eat regularly that maybe you feel on some level you shouldn't be eating or you want to let go of. And so I want you to just think about it. Think of that food, whether that be a chocolate bar, or maybe it's, maybe right now you're thinking eggs, right? And really just feel into your body. And I want you to just imagine eating it. All right, and just tune into how it feels in your body, like on your mouth, right? How's it taste? You getting that dopamine hit? Or maybe you're realizing, I don't actually like this as much as I thought I did. Or maybe now you know a little bit more about it. You're like, maybe I don't actually like this. Or it's still doing something for you and it's this, it brings you back to your childhood, whatever it is. Just noticing, we're not judging it, we're just noticing. And now I want you to think of it, okay, it's gone down into your belly. You feeling it in your stomach? How does it feel? Remember, because how you feel when you anticipate something is how you feel when you participate in it. So we're just feeling it. And now imagine, what do you feel like the next day, right? And just trust what comes up, just allowing your unconscious mind to give you the information that you need. We're just playing, we're just noticing. Notice, okay, like, yeah, how do I feel the next day? Do I feel a little foggy? Do I feel sluggish? Do I feel energized? Do I feel excited? Do I feel ready to go? Whatever it is, there's no judgment. We're just noticing. Noticing that because your body's always communicating with you, right? So whether this food is good for you or like serving you or not serving you, your body is telling you in more ways than one. And we just get to listen, right? This pain is just information, right? Pain in our body is information. And maybe digestion is hard. That's okay. We're just noticing. Beautiful. And so I'm curious if anybody wants to share anything that come up, anything that they noticed.
Sure.
Doug, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll just try to get through this quickly. I lived overseas for 25 years, over 20 years in India. And so when I came back to the US, seeing how food had changed dramatically in the United States was literally shocking. Um, I immediately at that point really stopped eating most processed foods, because it just wasn't part of it. And it was changing in India, and you see lots of health issues coming from that. But and taught my kids that we cook from scratch. Yeah, we have to dedicate an hour to 2 hours cooking, for all of us, but it's worth it. And so the interesting thing that comes out, and I'm glad you spoke so much about celery, because when my hand went up, that was my question I was going to ask about, because I'm realizing, oh, I'm not really having enough celery in my diet. So thank you for that whole expose on that. That was great. So that's one of my intentions. But having salad, I would have salads like a Tuscan salad in India. It was absolutely fine. Could eat lots of it. And since I've come to the US, I can't eat a lot of salad. And I haven't been able to figure out why. So that's kind of one of my intentions going forward. I'll have it, and then the tummy, I can have a little bit. And I mean, a very small bowl. I can't, if I want to have a plate of a salad, my tummy just goes out all the time. And that's just in the US.
Yeah.
So this may be a path forward for me to kind of figuring that out. And I know the biomes are very different in different countries, but and I don't eat much processed food, nor that much meat typically as well. That's
Yeah.
changed in my diet dramatically. But I'm just wondering, this will be a point of me to reflect on and investigate more. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing all this, because it kind of gives me a path to at least start exploring.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, because salads can feel disruptive in the body if we're kind of dealing with some gut issues. And in some way we all are, right? Like especially if you've lived in America for any period of time. The standard American diet, the acronym is SAD. Just putting that out. So I definitely recommend the celery juice because the celery juice will rebuild it actually repairs your digestive system. And so when the more celery juice, the better it is, then the roughage won't feel so rough when we eat it. Yeah, thank you, Doug. Lucero? Lucero?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. Um, I'm taking a deep breath. We went into the connection with food. I love bread. I grew up Mexicana, so I always had my little bread. I didn't even like bread when I was little, but my dad always had a bun in the table. So it's one of my biggest habits, I think. So I pictured myself eating like a croissant because I love croissants. But I felt like this dryness, like where my body is in this moment, and like how I was breaking down, and then you pictured like how does it make you feel, and I pictured myself going into a nap position. So I feel like it gives me some energy, but it obviously doesn't give me like all the energy that I need. And yeah. So, and then I kept hearing fruit. Like my body is saying, like, I want fruit. I want more apples. I want papaya. I love papaya. So yeah, that was a really good, the body's so intelligent. So I love being led into a deeper connection, especially with food. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful for that guided meditation to
Yeah.
connect with it. Hmm.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for participating.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, I would love to just share my resource. So I have, if you want, I have about 12 recipes, I think, up right now. I put it in the chat. I'll share the screen just for fun because I made the slides. Where is it? Mm-mm-mm. Oh, you get used to this. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. So we share the medical medium and then eat me, I love you. Like, for example, this picture is of a salad that I made, and it's literally just fruit, a little bit of, it's been a minute since I made this. So this is, I think those are hemp seeds. And then I put a little honey on it, and that's breakfast, right? And then, but yeah, because fruit goes down so fast, then next I'll have oatmeal, right? And then oatmeal is a little more sustaining. And yeah, so youtube.com/eat me, I love you. And I started this project years ago. And then in the last month or two, I felt a very strong call from spirit to revitalize it. Um, Let me see, I can actually bring it up on here. Um, where's the one? Right. I will learn how to use this. But anyway, yeah, youtube.com/eat me, I love you. The link's in the description or in the chat. And so I make little fun videos, and the recipes are in the description. I'm gonna work towards, I also have eatmeIloveYou.com, which put down here. And, the name is, remind you to eat the food that loves you, right? These foods, these fruits and vegetables, the celery, they love you. They have the best intentions for you. And so if you eat the food that loves you, it will serve you. And so you'll see if you go to that website, I actually have a blog about everything that I spoke about, a little bit more, so you can have a refresh of everything that I shared. And I'm gonna be adding the website, the recipes to the website. I have tons more recipes, simple, like I'll share with you right now. My favorite salad dressing, because fun fact, apple cider vinegar is not good for you. It pickles your liver. All vinegars pickle your liver. All kombucha, fermented foods, they feed bad bacteria in your body. It's a fad. And so I was trying to find a salad dressing that doesn't have vinegar. So I literally just do olive oil, lemon, and maple syrup. Perfection every time. You want it to be a little salty, you can add coconut aminos or even just some sea salt. And it's amazing. And it literally, you could do it with, like they said, the sliced cabbage. You can just do it with, sometimes I literally just do arugula. That's it. Maybe an avocado on top. But that salad dressing with just arugula, so good. Like you don't even need more. And so my recipes are always simplicity. My intention is to make it as simple as possible without sacrificing flavor and do it, so it's like it tastes really great, but it's super easy, So many recipes, it's like, bro, who's gonna do that? How many thousands of ingredients and process? And it's like, we got lives, we don't have time for that. But so my intention is simple. And one of my favorite recipes on my YouTube channel that I recommend is called No Chicken, No Noodle Soup. And it is so good. And real quick, I know we're running out of time, but I want to tell you the story. So my brother was a chef, went to culinary school. I told him I made this soup and I was like, it's like chicken noodle soup, but it has no chicken or no noodles because I hate chicken and I wasn't eating gluten. And he was like, well, so what's in it? So I told him and he's like, so vegetable soup. And I was like, fine. And then I was living with him and I made it and I was like, hey, I made some soup. Do you want to try it? He's like, what kind of soup? And I was like, vegetable soup. And he was like, okay. So we sit down and we eat it. He's like, this soup has got some real chicken noodle soup vibes. And I was like, see, I told you. So I highly recommend that. It's super delicious and super easy to make. It's the broth is the medical medium healing broth, which you can find online. And I usually just make that and I have a few jars in the fridge that I save and then it's super simple. So yeah. And that is all. And if anybody has, I guess I'll pass it along back to Ken to wrap it up. Thank you all for being here and thank you for listening and for your questions and your shares.
All right, I'd like to give everybody 30 seconds to silent reflection on your gratitude and your intention going forward. And then we'll have 10 seconds to affirm that in public uh, to lead us into the week ahead. So let's take 30 seconds and find the intention and gratitude within.
Am I supposed to start?
I'll call on you in the order I see you, so I'll make sure I get everybody with your permission. Olivia, then Tom, then Carol.
Well, I'm just so grateful I even learn more every time, Vanessa, and grateful that you could share with everyone. I feel so proud of you. And my intention is to eliminate one more food this week. I haven't figured it out yet. And to get my website complete. Aho.
And Tom.
I'm very grateful to you, Vanessa, and my intention is to give you an extra big hug next time I see you.
Carol, then Carl, then David. Unmute, please. Unmute.